My screen is really dirty. I would choose now to say that. Hey y'all, hey. So we are just waiting for some people to chime in. Jelly, you can laugh. It's okay. We're very informal on my platform. Okay.
Well, I'm trying
Oh, sorry,
to.
Angelica. My bad.
Girl.
I'm sorry. I always call her. Y'all listen. I call Angelica Jelly because that's our nickname for her.
That's my
And
that's
she
my mama. That's what my mama called me.
But the thing is, I introduce you professionally like that. and,
Girl.
I can't help it. And every time I do, you be like, Angelica. Sorry, my bad.
Listen,
Okay.
it matters. You called me Nat on the last one, and
I'm
like people will
sorry.
message me like Nat. I'm like, my friends can call me that.
You don't know
We are
me.
not friendship. It matters, folks. It really does matter. I'll answer to it, but I will correct you. Don't be mad. It's not snotty. It's just a preference.
I have to remember that I call y'all Nat and Jelly, and like when people call me Nay, and when people reach out and they go, "Hey Nay," I'm like, Shanae. So I get it. So I'm working on it.
Who?
Trust me, I'm working
You
on it. I
turn
promise.
around like who you talking to?
Who? I promise. Hey y'all. Hey. So we have 13 people chiming in. Can y'all tell us where y'all chiming in from? And y'all know the drill. If I do this, it's because I'm looking on two different screens. My questions are here. My people are here. So I'm not ignoring you. I promise. Please tell me where you're tuning in from. The comments should pop up in a few seconds. While we wait for that, Angelica, Natalie, how are you doing today?
Wonderful.
It's good to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
I love
I'm
it.
not gonna lie, I'm a little tired, but this is giving me energy. So
It is very windy. Wednesday is Wednesday. Is that a word?
It's what? It's what? Wednesday is listening. I like it though, Jelly. I like it. It's nothing wrong with it. It's Angelica. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, we have Silver Spring, Maryland, Atlanta, Brooklyn, Florida, Massachusetts.
that's for you,
No,
Angelica.
it's in
Oh, right.
Oklahoma City. Fly equals fly on the road to victory. I got my new RecruiterCousin.com t-shirt on, and it's definitely Eagle Green. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Houston, Dallas.
Silver Spring. Oh, that's Dana. Hey, Dana.
Dana, hey. Hey, Dana, hey. Hey, Dana, hey.
I'm trying to find it on Facebook.
If you just go to the comments,
There.
if you click on the comments on this time.
If it doesn't show up on Facebook, go to YouTube. My Facebook be acting up sometimes.
Okay.
Charlotte, Matthews,
Matthews, just around the corner.
Durham.
Full city?
Anybody in Rayford?
Don't do that. It might be somebody. It might be. Listen.
Anybody in Rayford? It's in the Fayetteville area, y'all. I'm
Look.
just wondering if anybody's in Rayford. Okay, so I wanted to introduce you all reintroduce you rather, because Angelica and I have done this before, but it was a long time ago, and I introduced you all before, but again, it was a while ago. So I want to reintroduce Angelica McDonald, who is a really, really good friend of mine, one of my sorors, and she is my trademark attorney. Fun fact about Angelica and I's relationship: Angelica and I went to law school together. We sat in the same section. We sat in the same row. We were in the same study group. And I had to keep it a family since we were in the same section in the same study group. So I figured since I needed a trademark, she was a trademark attorney, I would reach out to ask for help. And let me be very clear: I paid Angelica for her services, right? This was not free. I made sure I paid my friend for her services. So for those of us who have friends who have businesses, please invest in their businesses, because it's really important that we do not ask for discounts, that we do not, if you can hold off on bartering, pay your people so that they can make a living and you show that that you support them financially. Angelica helped me publish my trademark recently, and she's going to constantly and continue to help me on different legal matters as it relates to the business that I run with RecruiterCousin, along with amongst other things. Natalie, you all just met because I introduced Natalie a few weeks ago. And we're going to talk through some new things that Natalie has going on as it relates to her business and how all of this ties together. So, Angelica, please introduce yourself to the people.
My name is Angelica McDonald. I'm a licensed attorney. I'm licensed in North Carolina, but I handle trademarks nationwide. I'm the managing attorney of McDonald Law PLLC. Also co-founder of Rise HBCU. And I love to help businesses trademark and protect their assets. So that is what I do. Whether I help businesses when it comes to their business formation, their trademark stuff, copyright stuff. I also handle real estate closings in my area. And I'm a sports law attorney.
Let's be very clear. Come on, like run your resume, dog. Like, let's be very clear. She is a licensed. Can I say licensed sports agent? Can I?
Yeah, I am.
She is a like after we graduated law school, and she took the bar and passed the bar. Like Angelica actually continued school after that. Like continued to got an LLM. So she real educated, y'all. Just FYI, Angelica's very educated. She knows what she's talking about. Natalie, please reintroduce yourself.
Good afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Hello, happy Wednesday, because Wednesday is Wednesdaying. Angelica. Natalie Renee Parker, hailing out of the suburbs of Charlotte by way of New Jersey, Maryland, and Orlando, Florida. We've been all over the place. Corporate quitter, 3 years in the making for Natalie Parker Enterprises. We're about to have our third anniversary. And the best way I can say what I do is I help people with people. What does that mean? When it comes to leadership, dynamics, development, organizational design, we do all of those things. And I'm also a mom, a wife, a minister, and the host of So Your Boss Sucks Now What, which is a podcast to help people manage their terrible leaders.
I love it. I want to start with that, Natalie. How did you
call me whatever this far?
I'm trying. All right, y'all. Listen, we had this like insider that I have an issue with calling my guests by their nicknames because I know them personally. So just FYI, if I say Jelly or Nat throughout this entire thing, when you reach out to these wonderful young ladies, please call them by their full first name and don't call them by their nickname. So if I say Nat or Jelly, just know call them Natalie and Angelica. Okay, very good. Natalie, how did you get into, like, what made So Your Boss Sucks? What made that come about? Like, what's the story behind it?
So looking at the arc of my 25 plus year career in corporate America, I realized that there was a deficit in people who know how to manage bad leadership. And if you look at the statistics, Gallup says 75% of people leave managers. They even have a book called It's the Manager, Stupid. Like, it's like they have all of these things that they like. People leave managers. 85% of the workforce is disengaged, yet companies will spend indiscriminately towards leadership for leaders to only get incrementally better. So I'm interested in helping people who will face the inevitability of having a bad manager. I just, for the folks who are here, I'd be interested. Just give me a thumbs up if you had, or a raised hand if you've had a bad manager. Many of us have. Many of us had that experience. And wouldn't it be helpful for your life if you had a coach, a guide, a direction, somebody who can like live from the scars and learn from the scars that I've had, in life to navigate it better than I did. So it's been amazing. We've got 800 listens, 8 different countries, all in 4 months, and it's growing. So join the movement.
I love that so much. There's so much trauma around bad managers, and that trauma carries you into your next opportunity. It carries you home into your personal life. And there are many times when we can treat our home life like crap because our work life is just not together. And so the balance of recognizing when you have a bad manager and being able to channel that energy into very healthy avenues is really important. So that platform is really important. I remember just having a hard time, and I remember listening to some of your reels like really early in the morning. I was like, "Oh, Nat, thank God, I needed somebody to say that," because there are times when you deal with a bad manager, there are times when you feel like it's you. Like maybe it's like, because I'm sure I did it, where I was like, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong. And then you hear different stories of experiences that people had, and you realize so many people had bad managers. So thank you so much for creating such a transparent parent platform, because we really need So Your Boss Sucks Now What. Anytime I say that, the name of that of your podcast, people are like, oh, I like that immediately.
It's funny, like,
go ahead.
What'd you say, Angelica?
I was about to tell them don't like it too much.
Well, it's funny. I struggled with the name itself, because for those who are born, a lot of boomers were like, Clutch Pearls. Oh my God, that's so terrible, the name. But when you think about it, when you're in a bad situation, it sucks out the life from you, your creativity, your energy, your spontaneity, and all of those things. And does that affect you? Yes. Does it affect your family? And it also sucks the life out of your work. So let's say the quiet part out loud. It affects all of us. And how do we fix it? How to create mutual benefit between the employee and the employer so that we all win.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Angelica, how did you get into practicing trademark law?
So I've always wanted to work in sports, and then I ended up adding entertainment onto that. I no longer do entertainment law, but that was something I did for a while. And what a lot of people, or at least even what I didn't realize how much intellectual property is, in sports and entertainment, right? Honestly, intellectual property is in a lot of business stuff as well. So as I was doing more business matters, like helping clients, trademark kept coming up. And actually, my brother was my first client. He has a wing business. He has a wing business and a daiquiri business in San Antonio, Texas. And he reached out to me and was like, "Hey, can you trademark my my logo and my, the name?" And I was like, "Okay, but I don't know how to do this." Like, right? So, I had kept hearing it, and honestly, like at that point in time, I was kind of shooting myself in the foot that I didn't do the trademark clinic in law school. But it was never too late to learn. So I ended up getting into it because I was helping my brother, which we did get get trademarked. But that's how I ended up getting into trademark law a long time ago.
Can you let's back up a bit. What is trademark and why is it important?
So a trademark is it is in my opinion, an asset. So it could be a name, it could be a logo, it can be a color like Tiffany's blue, it could be a sound like y'all know the NBC sound, do 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 do. That's trademark. It could be a lot of different things, but basically a trademark is a source identifier to basically identify who is the provider of a good or a service. So again, I always use this example whenever we see the M for like McDonald's, or you see that M from far back, it's McDonald's, right? And that more than likely you're going to go there to get a burger, some chicken nuggets or something, but they're notoriously known for burgers or some type of restaurant services, right? Well, that is the reason why having a trademark is so important, because when you see a mark or see a color or something, you should identify it with some type of company or provider of a type of good or service. So whenever you see, the apple, the half eaten or bitten into the apple, we know that that's Apple. We know that's Apple. We know that they provide, phones, they provide watches, they provide computers, like iPads, whatever, right? So that's the reason why it's so important, because you want to make sure that the mark that you value, you possess, that you're using, one, is yours, but two, that it sets you apart from other people, so that when customers or the public sees it, they can identify it's you versus somebody else.
How did you learn trademark law? Because you mentioned that you didn't know like how to do it. Mm-hmm. So how did you learn trademark law and do it and not like mess up your brother's?
Well, so thankfully, like for attorneys, we know a lot of things. And one of the best things, or even just when you go to law school, Shanae, you have this skill. You know what I'm saying? Like we learn how to do things very fast. we research, we literally kind of go like we have an undertaking. Even as attorneys, we are obligated to at least know for the most part what we're doing, whether it's we're getting education from a book. But I actually one of my mentors, her name is Sonia Lakani. She had a course called 2 Weeks to Trademark. And she literally did like live courses, live webinars over a 2-week period of how you do like a trademark from start to finish. Of course, I have a friend, Shanette. She had been doing trademarks for a little while, and I think she did the IP clinic in law school. So I had her to lean on as well to ask questions. But once I got like that minimum like information and like walk through my first application, honestly, it wasn't even Sonia prepared you so much that you felt comfortable going into filing the application, right? So it wasn't like brain surgery. And because I have been connected to trademark law from like my work in entertainment and stuff, it made sense to me and it came easy. So it wasn't like I was just doing criminal law and I decided to get into trademark, which actually is not foreign. I know a lot of people that did one area and they've switched to trademark, or IP law because it was more transactional, which meant that they're not in the courtroom. It's normally, you're behind a desk or a computer. So that's actually how I learned. And thankfully, I've been really successful. I continue to take CLEs or continuing education classes on the new, rules that come out, because a lot of things have changed since I started practicing trademark law. But yeah, like I'm just constantly always educating myself and learning to get better. And, even with the practice of law, like people think we go to law school and we learn everything under the sun. But a lot of times, like we get the education, but really doing it is where we learn for sure. Because like law school doesn't teach us how to practice. It teaches us like the education portion or the law, but putting it into practice, you never, even when you do clinics, you do like the classes and stuff, like actually getting into it and doing it is where you really learn how to do it. So I would like to say, like, I got educated from, different classes and things that were out there. But I really learned how to do it from really doing it.
I love that. So Nat, I'm gonna come to you. You and I talked a lot about entrepreneurship, a lot about how you transition out of corporate America into your own, running your own company. Have you decided, or have you gone through the trademark process? And when did you decide you felt like you needed to?
So we're actually going through the trademark process now with Angelica. And it was really apparent to me so the business is 3 years old. And it's been going great. But as we create more processes that are unique to us, more products that are unique to us, I felt it was really important to protect myself. So for example, I've been talking about, So Your Boss Sucks now for at least a year and a half to several different people in several different forums, and realizing that I don't want nobody stealing my stuff. Like, this is very unique. And everybody I talk to is like, oh my God, this is amazing. Right. And so with that response, I'm like, let me go ahead and figure out how I can make sure I protect what I'm trying to do here, regardless of which way it grows. Right. So we're looking at everything from platforms to products to merch to books to all of those things. And I want to be able to codify that as both a brand and something for wealth, generational wealth for my kids. Right. And so thinking about that and thinking about it, not just as a thing, but as a monetization, as an extra stream of income, as something that can continue to live in perpetuity, because people will always have somebody they report to, and they'll always have some kind of content, not always, but most of the time have contention. And so there's a broad audience for this. So after about month 2 of the podcast, I was like, we need to go ahead and mint this. And so that's when we got into connecting with Angelica and starting the process.
I love it. A lot of what you do has to do with facilitation, cohesion, and just coaching other businesses. What makes your business unique from other consulting businesses, and kind of what they do? And why is that difference unique? Why is that difference and that uniqueness important to trademark?
So it's interesting because one is when you look at what we do from a consulting perspective, when you think consulting, you think of Deloitte, you think of Aon, you think of
Why?
KPMG, you think of all these big companies, right? But what we do is we partner with the company for the benefit of the employee as well, right? So it's not just company and the company need. It's like, wait a minute, we're going to start with thinking about the people. We're going to think, because what happens is, and I've seen this happen, like I come in to facilitate some kind of conflict between organizational groups, right? So this department's not talking to this department and they want to create more rules that this department's not going to follow. And really, I don't care how many processes you create. I don't care how many meetings you have. More often than not, these things are dealing with people issues, and people follow processes. So if you write process upon processes, you're wasting your time. So we really look at the people side of the organization and solve for what's not being said and what's underneath of that, where a lot of the larger organizations are going to come peanut butter spread their process and give you a hefty bill. We're really unique in how we customize the process to fit the needs and the positioning and the maturity of where the organization is, because not all organizations are mature enough to take on large scale change.
That's we got to dive into that one. We can't just like, we can't Kevin Hart that, like, you ain't gonna go past that, like you ain't just say what you just said. We got to dive into that. So tell us about that. Like, why is it that certain sizes of companies may be hesitant to change or maybe resistant to it? Like, what is that about?
So I would say it's not just size, it's mentality, it's bureaucracy, it's all of those things, right? Think of about the last time you tried to change something about yourself, whether it be your diet, your routine, your habit. That's hard. Changing by yourself is hard. So when you add 200 people to a process, I'm like, we're going to change. What's going to happen? It's hard to change by yourself. And then when you add things like position power, so you report to me and you may see it better than I do, but because of my position power, you're going to have to follow me if you want to keep a check. And just organizations typically don't make it easy to change. They create an intention for change, but they don't paint the picture as to why it's good for the team. They don't out loud say, you're going to lose some things and we're going to give you an opportunity to grieve the things you're losing. Yep, it's going to be harder for you for a minute, but we ask that you dive into this and we're going to be as supportive as we can. What they typically do is say, we're doing this, get over it. And the organization quietly and silently revolts, and it creates productivity issues. And that's why I believe the number is like 87% of change initiatives fail. And we never realize the intention because we don't bring the people along.
Have you ever been in a situation where you had to, like, flat out tell a leader about themselves in your consulting business, not in corporate America, in your consulting business? Have you ever had to actually like say, like, no, like, you tripping? And how were you able to kind of change their mind?
I will honestly say that's probably my favorite part of consulting that I'm able to say. So I was facilitating a meeting with a group of leaders who were just intentionally not talking to each other. And these were peers. And I was brought in to create cohesion, to create conversation, to get them to have mutual accountability to each other, right? So like, I'm accountable, we share goals, but the things that we're doing more often than not are siloed and it's impacting the other person and I don't care, right? There was this one person who in particular was extremely intelligent, very intelligent as a matter of fact, but in the meeting, when things were not going their way, there would be copious amounts of tears and blaming and doing things to really trigger the group. And the group she would suck the wind out of the conversation and everybody's head would lower down and their eyes would, fall. And we know that people where we're sitting in a meeting and it's that one person who's acting like a jerk and everybody's suffering it because they don't know how to deal with Barbara, right? And so rather than let that happen, what we do is we come in and we create a list of expectations, a list of what to expect and, how we're going to behave in agreements. But then I also ask their permission. Can I confront them when they're, going awry? And I ask that permission. So when it happens, you're not surprised. So when I say, you know what, I don't know if you intended to gaslight your team members, but I get the sense that this is not helpful. And I own what I feel. I know they're feeling it and they won't say it, but I own what I feel. And by doing that, I'm able to open up the conversation to say, now, how are we going to deal with this?
Yeah. Accountability.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't have the behavior, the maturity, or the experience. Angelica, you said something about experience. One of the things that we fail at is we're like, education, education, education. Education will get you awareness. Experience will get you knowledge. And part of the problem is a lot of us have education and no experience, and we don't know what to do with it. And what we say in my profession is diagnosis without evaluation is malpractice. And so we have a lot of that going around where you diagnosing things because you read it somewhere, but because you don't have the experience, you're having malpractice because you never evaluate. I'm sorry. I feel like I said a lot.
Where's the mic? But here's the thing, though. What you got a whole bunch of hand claps, just clapping, just everywhere. So the thing is, though, you mentioned a lot of uniqueness, right, in what you do, and part of why RecruiterCousin for me was really important to trademark is because, well, one, I didn't want anyone to steal my name like that, because I'd have been hot. All of the building that I did organically, I would have been very upset had I not protected my brand name itself. Angelica, in the uniqueness that Natalie just shared and why it was important for her to trademark that type of unique process that she has, can you walk us a little bit in brief summary on what the trademark process can consist of?
You mean like my
process? I like that song.
Just kidding. You mean like my process, or like just a process from like the filing of the application and registration to registration?
Natalie, say what you're about to say.
I was going to say, for the ease of everyone here, Angelica, feel free to share the process we're going through with the product.
Okay. So for me, now, if somebody just did it on their own, they would not be going through this process. But most trademark attorneys, we do what's called a clearance search, which basically is going to analyze like your mark. Words within your mark. If it's like a word mark, if it's a design mark, elements in your design, the gamut, right? To see what else is out there. And also to evaluate whether it's strong enough and unique enough to actually obtain trademark registration. And once I go through that, and it could be pages long. Hundreds to thousands of pages long to evaluate. Once I get that information, I put it into what I call it, what us trademark attorneys call opinion letter. And I basically give a short synopsis of what I found for my client. And then I send it to my client. We have a meeting, which I'm in the process of doing it now for Natalie. Like, I've been working today, girl. So we can set up our meeting. But I will, go over the findings. What happens then is, because sometimes I do have clearance searches where the mark is actually, registered in the class of goods and services that my client is seeking to register theirs under. And we have to have a conversation like, hey, this is what I found. Not sure if you're going to have really good chances of getting this registered. Now, it's up to my client to say, hey, I still want to move forward. My brother did that. There was a lot of marks that were very similar to his, but because the some of the wording within his in his trademark name was a lot of marks have been able to get registered with that very name in it. we were able to have some success. But I told him like, hey, there's a possibility that this will get dinged. But he was like, look, let's pull the trigger. I have some clients that say that may actually be in the pre-launch stage, so they actually haven't launched their business, or they haven't launched like this the usage of their mark. Which that's typically the process of, you see like Kim K, or Beyonce, like they filed trademark applications for Blue Ivy and Northwest before they were even born, because they knew people was going to try to come around and monetize their names. So pre-launch is where I always recommend people actually file, but it's okay if it's not pre-launch. Like, that's not the end all be all. But we have a conversation. Sometimes my clients, they actually change the name. They have a better opportunity of getting their registration. So once I get the go ahead to move forward, then I file the application. Now, this is the part where a lot of people get real antsy, because the trademark process is not a quick thing. You can't, if you find somebody online that said they can get you your trademark next week, they're lying. Because the trademark process from start to finish is typically like at least a year. And that's if it's like straight through, not really having to do a whole lot of stuff, a lot of changing things, tweaking things. It's normally about a year. Even getting assigned to an examining attorney is going to take about 10 to 11 months by itself. So there's this long period of time where there's nothing, because it's a first to file. The way they review the applications is first to file. So it's like literally you're in line waiting for somebody to get assigned to your application. And a lot of people don't realize, like, there's thousands of applications that are filed every single day. Even like if you're a foreign company, for instance, like China, y'all go on Amazon and y'all see a lot of stuff that comes from China. Well, they actually have to have a registered trademark in order to, like, for their particular company, in order to sell like on Amazon. So like they have to be in the Amazon registry. So the process, like, imagine all those applications in front of yours that gets filed every day. So that's the reason why it's such a long process. It's such a long process. So a lot of times my clients, they're like, hey, is something going on? Nope, ain't nothing going on. Just waiting for it to get assigned and waiting to hear back something. Once it gets assigned, once the examining attorney reviews it, they're going to be looking for, again, whether your mark is unique. And when I say unique, I mean like distinctive, not necessarily descriptive of the goods and services that you utilize. And that's in pretty general terms. And they're going to look to make sure that your mark does not conflict with someone else's mark who is in the same or similar related class of goods or services that you're filing your application in. So for instance, Dove soap and Dove chocolate, they have the same name, but they're two different goods. They're not even related. Soap and chocolate have nothing to do with each other, and they're not even complementary. Even though, like, people could try to say, like, you may take a shower and eat chocolate. I don't know, like in the tub or something. I don't know, but there are cases where brands can have same names, but they just completely different services, completely different goods. So they're going to be looking for that. If nothing comes up, you'll go to the next stage, which is the publication stage. That is the stage where, for a 30-day period, your application will be published in what they call the official gazette, and it will give anybody the chance to basically object to the registration of your mark. If no one objects, then the next stage is the publication stage. I mean, not the publication stage, the registration stage. And normally, like, it'll register between 4 to 6 weeks. But yeah, like that's the fast and easy straight through process. If like the examining attorney finds something that, you know, that maybe it conflicts, or maybe they don't think your mark is strong enough and unique enough, distinctive enough, they're going to issue what's called an office action, a substantive office action. They're going to ask you, like, basically you need to provide a response as to why you should be able to get this registration. Now, this is the whole nother ball game, a lot of legal research that I have to do to provide, you know, explanations, and I'm pulling case law and this and other, you know, applications that may be similar to my clients, and, you know, saying, hey, they were able to get the registration and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a lot of like different tactics and strategies. I've actually only, out of the amount of marks that I've registered, I've actually only had one office action. I'm still dealing with it right now. But you know, it happens. The trademark process is very substantive. So whoever you're getting as an examining attorney, they could be a complete butthole, or they like super anal. And it's not up to me. What they see is what they see. It may not be what I see based on my experience and what has been able to be registered in the past, and the other marks that have been able to be registered, they may just have a stick up their butt that day. I don't know, whatever. They just may be like very hard on to say no. So I never can guarantee results for my clients, but I make sure I work damn hard to try to make sure that I get the registration, and honestly prepare them. Like I said, my brother, he was like, let's go. But he knew there was a possibility that this may not go through. I had already primed him for what could happen. So I always try to make sure that's the whole reason why we have a comprehensive search, to prime my client of what could happen. So that I won't say there's no surprises, but they at least know what to expect for the most part.
So Natalie's going through this right now. I went through it not too long ago. The question then becomes, if I'm already doing this, right? Natalie's already doing what she's doing. Mm-hmm. The question then becomes, I am now on notice that I'm doing this, and I'm afraid that because now I'm on notice, someone could take this. When you're going through the trademark process, does that expose you but protect you at the same time?
I would say yes. It's a little nuanced too, because you know, when you're using your trademark, you have like common law rights, but really, I won't say common law doesn't matter, but in the grand scheme of things, a federal registration is much more, it is weighted much more heavily than you having common law rights, because then you have to prove like how long you've been using it, when you first started using it, all this stuff, like, and even like your common law rights are really going to be reduced down to like geographic location. Like, so it's not going to be nationwide. It's going to be like where your base is, or where you have it extensive reach. But the good part about starting the trademark process is that you, again, it's like first generally it's first to file. So say for instance, if somebody got cute, they tried to come behind Nat or Natalie. And look, this is my client. Look,
at this point, Nat, you're gonna have to roll with it, friend. At this point,
I promise I will not call you Nat again. Should I?
Sorry. It's okay, Jelly. It's okay.
Sorry.
But say for instance, somebody tried to come behind Natalie, you know, after her application is being filed and we're just waiting, their application gets suspended. And they cannot move forward in the application process until there's some type of conclusion or resolution for her application. And that has actually happened to me, to my brother, his daiquiri business. There was another business that had the very same name, but his had a little bit more in this like very similar class of goods and services, right? So we were waiting it out, and we had to wait about a year and a half to 2 years, because they had gotten through the trademark process, and they were at the place where they needed to provide their specimens. So they filed a 1B application, which is an intent to use application. So that's like pre-launch. It's not out in commerce. They haven't put it out there, nothing. So they had gotten through the trademark process, but they had not gotten to the part where you provide your evidence of usage. So literally we were waiting. And they kept renewing. You get 6 months to renew. So we were literally waiting. And what actually I have two clients. One of my other clients who had a makeup company or like a makeup line, cosmetic line. We waited forever. Like, I mean, and then I was keeping tabs on whether they actually met their deadline to provide the specimen. And they did not provide it. And then there's this like window where you can revive your application. So after that window, it's a wrap. It's considered abandoned. Well, thankfully, that happened with my brother's mark, and we were able to go forward. I was able to ping the examining attorney like, hey, so this application is no longer in play. Can we go ahead and move forward with ours? And he did, and it was registered. So like, there are ways for you to protect yourself and protect other people from coming in behind you. But also, like, it kind of, imagine somebody like you going through the trademark process and then somebody tries to like object to your registration because they're like, oh, I've been using it, but I never got my trademark registered or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, so those are some things that could come up. I haven't encountered it, knock on wood. But I've heard other attorneys encounter that. So ultimately filing the application is going to be super important to go ahead and do it. And that's why I always actually tell people to do it pre-launch. But I also understand that a lot of people just don't know, or sometimes people are on a limited budget and they kind of have to choose between what they consider more important. And we're, especially with this economy, like, it's important for us to make money and to survive. And investing in trademark like registration, it can be pricey. But I like to say that I think that the price is well, at least I always say you're gonna pay on the front end or your back end, but you're gonna pay. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, I got a call this morning. It's so funny. Like when you send the questions, I got a call this morning. Somebody got a letter where I live that said that the company, there was a company that reached out to them and said, you need to change your business name that's on their building because they are infringing on their trademark. This morning. So I've encountered this quite a bit. People buy inventory, they've gotten their website done, they've started using it out in public. Like, I mean, the gamut. They done spent thousands of dollars. And in my mind, I'm like, you probably could have saved some money by hiring me on the front end, versus now you're in this place where you got to do a whole rebrand. And honestly, it makes or breaks some people's businesses. Mm-hmm. Like, well, they're gonna keep going forward because they're like, I done put all this money into it, now I gotta do it all over again. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't fault people for not filing up front, but I also have to like be honest with them and let them know, like, this is where we're at and this is how much it's going to cost like to fix this. Yeah. They call us the fixers. Like, attorneys are the fixers, that people only come to us when they got problems, like when they need help. A lot of people are not proactive, and I consider trademark law a proactive thing. Right. It is proactive area of law.
I want to switch gears a little bit, Natalie. I'm gonna come back to you. There's a lot that goes with being an entrepreneur, right? When you transition from corporate into entrepreneurship, you are the accountant, you are you are payroll, you are HR, you are the hiring manager, you're the recruiter, you are all the things, right? All the roles, you are marketing, all the things. How have you been able to balance knowing what you need for your business and all of this tying into trademark, because you realize I need to trademark, right? How have you been able to balance all the facets of your business while still maintaining the level of protection that you've been able to maintain?
There are so many assumptions in that question. Mainly that I'm balancing, the other one that I'm doing it right. I don't know. There are two things that I say to people. One is that God takes care of babies and fools, and sometimes I'm a little bit of both. The second thing I will say is every day you're making it up, right? As an entrepreneur, I think the thing that makes it scary for people is the thing that energizes me. Like literally every day you've got to solve some problem that you didn't know you had. Everything from taxes to bookkeeping to like, oh, I forgot to invoice them. And that's a lot of money. Oh, I have to wait 45 days for this work I've already like it's every day it's something new. And I think when you have very clear goals about what you are trying to do, it makes the ability to focus on what's most important that much easier. It's really hard when we're in a very um congested society. I'm actually reading this book called The Siren's Call. It's about the economy of attention, right? And the idea that everything is calling for our attention, everything, like it's the TV, it's the phone, it's the kids, it's the email, it's like, and it creates this level of anxiety that you cannot, it's really can be unbearable. But if you can quiet your mind down, as a person of faith, I pray often, I turn everything off and like just listen, right? I think it's important for you to one, have some kind of goal that you're reaching toward that you remind yourself about daily so you can make the main thing the main thing. But then it's also knowing that level of importance that something else may not get done and being okay that that might burn a little bit, but it's not going to burn anything down. And I used this analogy once and it really aged me a bit, but back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, there was a skill that probably got on America's Got Talent called plate spinning. And it's where, this person would get these sticks and put a plate on top of it and spin the plate. And then they put like 13 other plates on the plates on the sticks and then spin all the plates. And the minute you see one toppling, they run over and they spin that plate. And then the minute they finish getting that equal and stable, they have to go split another plate. Being an entrepreneur is plate spinning. If you've never seen it, Google it. Go on YouTube. The people show you all the things. But that's really what it is. It's like, oh, I gotta go get here. Wait a minute, this thing, right? But it's knowing which plates can drop and will bounce. Does that help answer your question at all?
It does. It does, because I think a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, but they don't know, one, how to be. They don't know what it comes with. I don't think they're fully prepared and have the vision. I think they have the willpower, but I don't think they have the vision and understand what it takes to balance entrepreneurship with fully understanding that every day is just not going to go the way you plan for it to go financially, emotionally, spiritually with entrepreneurship. And there are waves of entrepreneurship. And I think I wanted to ask that question because I think you've done a really good job at, although you say looks may be deceiving, but I think you've done a really good job at balancing where you needed, where you've needed improvement versus where you're strong. I have a follow-up question to that. How has, and Angelica, feel free to chime in. How has entrepreneurship for the both of you challenged the both of you to ask for help?
The minute I tried to make a website and it was real ugly, I was like, this ain't me, right? Like, so I think you've got to know your skills and know one, entrepreneurship is, in my mind, a battle of two big things. It's one, can you be committed to yourself the same way you were committed to somebody else's vision? For me, that's one of the biggest challenges that most people have. It's not the discipline, it's the discipline to be disciplined for yourself. I can be disciplined to meet a clock and to do a bunch of other things for other people, whether that be my spouse, my kids, or whatever. But do I have the discipline to do the things that I need for myself and for my business? Your business is a baby and it stays in like infancy for a long, long time. That's the first thing. The second thing is a friend of mine told me, a guy that's a really close friend, he says, Natalie, a good idea isn't a good idea until you can prove it. And so like, it's not good. An idea isn't good until it's done, right? Until it's come to fruition. And part of entrepreneurship is just the willingness to fail and learn. failing and learning, right? If you fail and keep failing the same way over and over again, and you like Groundhog Day, I need you to go find something else. That's not your talent and passion. Find your ability to both fail, learn from it, and do the next thing. And being, okay, you skinned your knee, let's get you a band-aid and some, Neosporin to keep it moving. A lot of us get hurt at failures and don't see them as opportunity. Benjamin Franklin, straight up and down, had thousands of failures. And you look at great inventors, these people failed over and over again, but it took that one time for them to succeed. And I think we've got to get better at just like, I messed that up, let's keep going. Right. And so for me, that's been kind of the key learning that I think that people have a hard time. Now, if you don't have any discipline, you need to go get a job. Go get a job. There's nothing wrong with being employed. There's nothing wrong with having a check, having a roof over your head, eating some food. It's not for everybody, and that's okay.
You mentioned a book earlier. What was that book called? You said you were reading a book right now called...
Oh, it's The Siren's Call. It's by, oh God, I'm going to tell you what it is. The Siren's Call.
Can you put it in the chat?
Sure, I will. It's by Chris Hayes. It's a very, very good book. He talks about how we're becoming a congested society and how we are in an economy that's not just for knowledge. It's really for our attention. Like everyone's fighting for your attention. And what you have attention on is the thing you focus on, and that's what you become. And so how can you intentionally focus and be present and be intentional about what has your intention so that you can begin something other than what the algorithms tell you to?
I love that. Y'all feel free to ask questions. We're actually nearing the end of our session. Put some questions in the chat if you have any questions about entrepreneurship and deciding when it was time to go through the trademark process for Natalie, and then trademark questions all up for Angelica that she can answer. Please
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, one of the conversations that we talked about earlier on the questions was I'm trademarking the podcast, the book, whatever, but I haven't decided to trademark the company name. And I'm interested to hear Angela, because I've got my own perspective, right? So the company's Natalie Parker Enterprises. I've got a very generic name. I may not keep the business forever, right? And I also am interested in I'm thinking about potentially rebranding at some point, because I don't want the company to be based on my personality. I want it to be about the processes, the culture, whatever. Angelica, what do you think about that? I'm asking you questions.
A lot of companies, like, it's not necessary to do that. I've seen like more people like trademark their name or whatever versus like the company. And a lot of times the company is their name, or like a portion of their name. But like some of the biggest companies that we follow or we consume on a daily basis, their company's name is not the trademark that they own. Like people wouldn't even know that wasn't even, the company's actual name. So I don't necessarily think like that it is always necessary to actually trademark your company name. It's really about what is that thing when people see whatever it is you provide, are they going to connect it and identify it as it being associated with you or your company? So, it's not really about the company name. It's about what is the mark or what is that distinctive thing that makes them say, hey, I know that Natalie provides that, So, your company name really has nothing to do with, so your boss says, like, what? Like, it has nothing to do with it. You could do it, but it's not necessary, in my opinion. I don't think it's necessary.
No, I appreciate that.
They do everything under the kitchen sink, and I don't blame. Like, do what you do, but company's name or not, just like how a lot of people name their LLCs after them. That's not necessary either. Like I tell people, because they are like, oh, well, this is taken. You ain't gotta call it by your name, right? You know, it could be ABC, whatever. Like, as long as it's available, you know, just make sure you're not because that's also another thing too. Understand that like your company name could be infringing on somebody's trademark rights as well. Because some people do trademark their company names. So that's something to consider as well. Like when you're picking your business name, that's something to consider.
I do think it's also important for us to note that there's a difference between trademarking something and registering something with the government, right? So I think we need to fully say, like, if you have an LLC, and you, like, I have an LLC registered with the state of North Carolina, just because I register something with the state of North Carolina does not mean I have protected myself and trademarked that thing or that name. So I want to be very clear for people out there who have nonprofit organizations, for-profit organizations, corporations that you're building. There is a difference between registering it with the state and then actually going through the trademark process, for those of you who were wondering. Brittany said, being in a manager position, especially when your leadership is new and growing in their role as well, I see my potential to be an entrepreneur, but not knowing how to protect your intellectual property to be successful in the business industry. I think this call was important for you to understand. Like, there are some differences in just in general, and fully understanding how you can protect yourself and your intellectual property. Hey, Taquanda said, I have lots of questions when there are events and podcasts and brands, do you trademark all at once or the entity that's most visible?
I think it depends on how much money you got. I'm being honest with you. Because like Natalie, she's doing like the podcast and the book, like, you know what I mean, like she's doing multiple things. I would say if you've already put it out, then to me that's like priority number one, because it's already out there. If you're like in the planning stages and you got a little bit of time to buy, you know, you don't necessarily have to do those things that you have not launched. But understand, like, you want to technically do it before you launch so that people don't come behind you and get, you know, cute and try to, you know, take your stuff. So like it's kind of like this balancing act, and it might be something you might have to put stuff aside or not rush the process. Like a lot of entrepreneurs or business owners that I've encountered, they're so I need to get it out there. I need to get it out there. I need to get it out there. When, you know, there's value in being patient.
Yeah.
And like understanding you got to get some foundation, some things in place before you launch. Now, I'm not telling you that so you can procrastinate, you know what I mean, and sit on your gift, because some people wait till everything is perfect before they launch. I'm not telling you that either, but I am telling you that you can do it all, like, and understand, like, so your one mark can actually be registered under multiple classes. So say for instance, it could be registered under podcast services. Podcast services, I don't remember the number. Please don't crucify me. But a lot of goods and services actually fall underneath, if they're like of the same genre, they fall underneath the same class. So you're not necessarily having to file a separate application. So for people that don't know, the trademark, your trademarks, like, classifications are divided into goods, into services, and there's like numbers for them. It's like 46. Lord, I should know this. But anyway,
it's okay. It's been a long day.
I'm like, it's been a long. It's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
But they're categorized, and every time you want to do something, like say for instance, you want to do a podcast, but you also want to put out t-shirts. Well, those are two separate classes of goods and services. Those are two separate application fees. The application fee is $350. They actually just changed it because it was a $250 one and a $350 one. They got rid of the other one. They try to get all the money they can, of course. But so if you know you want to do one thing, but maybe you haven't launched the t-shirt part yet. But you've already done a podcast, so the podcast is almost ready to be launched. You can prioritize those things. So like the event, the podcast, like some things actually might be, related to one another, and they may go under the same class of goods or services, or they may not, but they may be related or similar. And this is something that a lot of people don't know. Like, you might not be filing in the same exact class as maybe somebody else who has the same mark as you do. But if it's related or similar, like complementary goods, like now, like a thing I'm seeing is like the trademark office, like say it's you're filing under wine. I had a client who was a beer company, and there was something similar like in the cigar class, because now people are drinking wine, drinking liquor, beer, and smoking cigars, like these cigar lounges and stuff, right? So they're very complementary. So also understand, while that could hurt you, that could help you, because the trademark office, they try to also anticipate maybe somebody else coming behind you and filing in a whole separate class that you may not have filed in, or something. Like, they think about it like, if there's a possibility you can naturally branch off into this class, which a lot of times t-shirts or apparel is a natural branch off for a lot of like company or a lot of like services. So they a lot of times don't give registrations, because they're like, oh, they could launch a t-shirt or apparel line. That don't mean they will, but they could. You know what I mean? So they're like, you can't do that. So it just depends. But understand, there's some wiggle room and some things that you might be able to get underneath the same class that you weren't aware of, and it doesn't require like a whole separate application fee.
Can you reiterate first to file for people who just coming in?
Oh, first to file is like whoever's the first to file like their application. Now, understand, like, somebody that if they were using it, they could say, hey, I've been using this trademark for years. I just never registered it. They could summon like to the trademark office, like, hey, I want, registration, but they'll give it to them limited, like in a limited standpoint, because they didn't file it federally, but they do have common law rights. So first to file is like first in line to file your application.
Meaning somebody can't, if it's not trademarked, but somebody tries to steal your trademark or your name, if you file first, somebody can't come behind you and get in front of you. Like, you're first in line if you file first. So you're essentially exposed and protected at the same time.
Yes. I mean, and I would say for the most part, now I've seen like very rare cases, other attorneys, they're like, yo, how did they get their stuff reviewed in 3 months? Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, that comes up amongst attorneys. I mean, like attorneys that are doing really big things and they do like trademark law primarily. But that's like rare. I don't even know how that happened. Honestly, I have no idea how it happens. So, but it's supposed to be first to file, like first in line to submit the application. It goes in order.
So another question we have is, do you have a better chance of getting the federal trademark if you already hold a state trademark?
I don't think it has any bearings. They don't look to say, oh, they registered statewide, so we can give them, because everybody has their own rules. Yeah. Now I will say, like, at least I know from the state of North Carolina, they kind of like review their stuff the same way the USPTO does, but neither of them have any bearings on the other at all. And actually, like, federal registration allows you to file a federal lawsuit, and we know federal trumps state for the most part when it comes to most things. So you would want that protection, because you would want to be able to file federally versus statewide. Like, if somebody has a federal registration, that gives you a little bit more power, because remember, the federal registration is nationwide. State is just for the state of North Carolina, especially with technology now. Like, there could be somebody in Timbuktu or Arizona using your stuff, you know what I mean? And you don't have any way of filing anything against them because you don't technically have a registration. And also, let me be clear, like your federal registration creates a presumption that you are the owner and you owned it before somebody else did.
Mhm.
It gives you that presumption that you are the owner. So basically, if somebody were to use it behind them, like you already come in on the good foot, they're the ones that have to explain. So, you know, they have to now provide the evidence. No, wait, we were the ones that were using it first, blah, 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 all this other stuff. They have to provide all this stuff. So that's what you want to come in. You want to come in like having more ground. It's like, plaintiff defendant. You want to make sure like you come in on the strong suit, like from the strong perspective, so that the other side is the one that really got to do the hard, heavy lifting and explaining why, they shouldn't be liable for, infringing on your mark. And there's also like statutory, damages stuff, even if it's like completely by mistake. Oh, I didn't know. They don't care about that. But people don't get that either. And it's expensive to be litigious, so, or to file lawsuits.
Thank you.
Like, it's expensive
I'm
to
sure
file
people like,
lawsuits. What is litigious? It's expensive to file lawsuits. I'll just say that.
What are the options if you own a trademark but you want to franchise your brand, the brand that uses it? Is there a separate filing process that the owner needs to go through to allow the franchisees to use that trademark?
So you would so my brother, he has a franchise. He worked with a franchise. He worked with an attorney to do his franchise stuff, which I don't do. I've considered it, but I don't do it. But the reason why the process was easy for him, because he had already got his trademark registered. So basically, you're licensing from a franchise standpoint. You're licensing the usage of the mark to the franchisees. So, owning the trademark first is going to be numero uno, because you can't license something that you don't own. Mm-hmm. So, or that you don't have like legal documentation say you own it. So I would say, there's, as far as like ownership of a trademark, there's no separate process as far as like if your objective is to in the future to franchise it. That would be a license that you would provide your franchisees.
I love it. I think that is the last question. So thank you both for just sharing your time with us and giving some information on the entrepreneur route and the importance of trademarking in that way, and then actually going through the trademark process. Natalie, how can people find you?
So you can go to our website, thenatalieparker.com. That's for businesses who are looking to level up in their people space. Also, if you are suffering a boss that sucks, you can find us at yourbosssucks.com. Also, the podcast is on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Join the community. I want to hear your story. So if you have a story, let us know. We'd love to hear your bad boss story so that we can help you out.
And Angelica, how can people find you?
You can find me on all platforms. I am _Angelica ESQ. I'm on Instagram, Threads, YouTube. Now, if you find my YouTube channel, it's going to be talking about athletes, NIL, branding.
Because you do that too.
So that's what my YouTube channel. I don't talk about trademark stuff. I talk about my sports center stuff on YouTube. But yeah, if you want to get in contact with me, also my website is mcdonaldlaw.legal. So you can go there and reach out to my office, or you can fill out the contact form and we'll get back to you in 24 hours or by the next business day. And yeah.
So I want everybody, before we log off, I want everybody to take their phone or whatever device that they're on and go follow So Your Boss Sucks on IG. I know everybody got an IG at this point. So go follow So Your Boss Sucks and go follow it on Facebook, along with please subscribe to the YouTube page. Then when you're done with that, I just put Angelica's IG in the chat. I also put So Your Boss Sucks in the chat as well from IG, and then Natalie just put the Facebook page into the chat as well. Please contact Natalie, ask your questions about being an entrepreneur, ask your questions about being on that side of going through the trademark process and what it's like as the owner of the company, along with contacting Angelica to take you through the trademark process. If you have a mark, or if you know somebody who has a business who needs to make sure their intellectual property is protected. I know when I started to build RecruiterCousin, I didn't think about a trademark because in my mind, I was just building something on social media until my good friend Angelica was like, "Girl, what you doing?" And I was like, "You're right." So, so I will say I surround myself with people who hold me accountable. And so both Natalie and Angelica have helped me accountable in my journey as well. And yes, please go on their TikToks because they both have TikToks. I forget about TikTok too. They both have
I have fun on my TikTok. It's a
That's
little
what
bit
I was
more
say.
fun on
If you
TikTok.
find me on Threads or TikTok,
you gonna hear some stuff.
that's that's personal. You probably gonna be like, "Ooh, you girl."
But I surround myself with people who keep me accountable, who want to see me succeed, but who hold me accountable in a very different way, a very, very mature, professional. Like these are the things that you need to work on in order to be successful. While Natalie is my mentor, she is also a coach of mine, and she coaches me all the time about certain things in business that I need to do to make sure I am in line with how to be successful. And then Angelica, I'm about to just put you on retainer at this point because
what you
Angelica? But didn't you say something about paying your friends? Where's my check?
Listen, I got you. I just paid Angelica. I got you. But thank you, ladies, so much for coming. Yes, please pay your friends because it's really important that you support their businesses monetarily. We love support. We love well wishes. We love likes and shares and all of that. But y'all, if y'all can go see Beyonce and Chris Brown, who don't know who you are, y'all can pay your friends, especially when your friends got good businesses and they know what they're doing. Now, if your friends don't know what they're doing, that's different. But my friends know what they're doing in their businesses. I know what I'm doing when it comes to my profession. And so y'all, please support your friends monetarily. Pay me.
What did Joe Pesci say? What did Joe Pesci say on that movie? He's like, if you need this, forget you. Pay me.
Pay me. Pay me. You talk to me. Never over the phone. You talk to me. I love it. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Be well. Be blessed. Remember, this job market is a beast, but so are you. And remember, I always leave y'all with Romans 8:31. If God be for you, who can be against you? So y'all all be good. And have a good night.
Good night. Take it easy, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Sinead. This is fun.
Yes, I enjoyed it.